Good morning. Welcome to another morning of absolute chaos. We've had 2 deliveries already, and it's not even 8 o'clock. Wow, that's just how much beer is being consumed at the moment in the pub. Got to keep it chopped up. The boss made sure that the doorman was here this morning, so everything is in order. You can come in at noon, and there'll be a beer waiting for you. I'm Keith Hayes. This is Mirador Television, broadcasting from the Black Horse Pub in Lewis, but we are local, not parochial. We are based here, but we broadcast to the world, and the world comes back to us from time to time. There's a bus going by. I have a bitter complaint. I get along quite well with the bus people. I mean, I've traveled the buses for so often. I know a number of the drivers, and we wave to one another and so on and so forth. This morning, in an emergency, I had to catch the bus. It was on the wrong side of the road. The bus saw me coming. I waved, and he just went on and kept on going. It was a bit naughty of him because he did see me. So for all the good guys, and let me say good morning to the good guys, there's always one bad apple in the barrel. I mean, I got him this morning. So there you are. Not at all a nice guy. Left me standing at the bus stop waiting for another 10 minutes. Not long, is it? Unless your back is aching like hell. Because you can't stand very well. But never mind. It is a gorgeous day out there. The boss has been trying to get some air passing through the pub. Actually, I'm not feeling it too badly, but for some reason, I don't seem to feel the heat. I don't know why. But anyway, all in all, the environment is pretty damn good, pretty nice, and it's not a bad day out there, even if you don't like the heat. It's a pleasant day, a clear blue sky, and that's the way it's going to stay. Let's just take a look at the weather, because I know you're always interested. The high today, 26 degrees. It's 1 degree warmer than yesterday. Sunny and a gentle breeze. Now, there's a lady walking across the other side of the street, and I can see that the wind is just catching her hair a little bit. So there is a bit of a breeze. But generally speaking, it is very still and calm out there. So there is nothing to cool it down. It is going to be hot. And right now, at 8 o'clock, it's 19 already. It's going to hit 26 somewhere around noon. So be prepared for it. Even I have abandoned my tweed jacket today. I've got on a gilet, as you can see. See? Yeah. All ready for a very hot, roasting day. But the one nice thing is, all I have to do is put out my hand like that, and there is a cider at the end of it. Listen, I tell you, I'm thinking of not broadcasting anymore. I'm living in the lap of luxury. Why not enjoy it? That's the Black Horse in Lewis. Already we've got all sorts of people. Harry Atherton from Normandy can't wait to get in here. He just loves this pub, and he's never actually stepped foot through the door, but he sees it at least twice a week by broadcasting with us, and a very good broadcaster he is too. Anyway, we should take a look at the news headlines, because at approximately 10 to 10, we are going to go off the air very briefly. We are going to hand over to Philip in Arundel, and he is going to come in with John Prideaux, who is our AI expert and who has promised a bumper package. Stuart will be along somewhere after 10 to chat about politics and the election. We sent a reminder to Maria Caulfield and to McCleary, because they, after initially saying yes, they like to come on, they've gone quiet. And I always, I'm sure that it's not true, but I always interpret that as being, we've got something to hide. So come on, chaps, get with it. Before, one of the things about you politicians is you have forgotten the key thing in PR and information is perception. Doesn't matter what the fact is, it's how it's perceived. And you are not at all careful about that. And then you get all excited when the public perceive you as something, and it's far from what you see yourself. It's a basic tenet of PR. Of course, the trouble is I can tell straight away, being an expert in this particular industry, you've got some vague idea that PR is putting up pretty pictures and keeping everybody informed about the next tea party at County Hall. Well, it's far, far, far more sophisticated than that, believe me. And it's about time that you went back to school on that, because most of you totally ignore it. Totally ignore it. Mind you, politicians are very much in a stable of their own. Why they don't understand things the way that the general public do, I don't know, because they're supposed to be representing us. But there we are. That's the way of the world. We have to live with it, and we have to react to it. And react to it on this program, we do. And the erosion of liberty, free speech, freedom of action and movement is not going to be taken away easily, even though already it looks as if we're going to have a bit of a tussle. When I say we, I mean the media, going to have a bit of a tussle with Labour if, as anticipated, they form the next government. Labour's idea of freedom is a nanny state. Lift your right hand. Oh, okay. Now put it down again. That's not for us. Free thinking, free will is terribly key to a good democratic process. And a good democratic process is important for a healthy and tolerant society. So just remember that. I've got a little fly here. Good morning, fly. Yeah. That's a sign of summer. All right. Enough rabbiting on. Should I be rabbiting on? As the chief is getting on my back in the background. He came in this morning. He was feisty and is telling everybody what to do, and he hasn't given up. And when he gets into that mood, I'll tell you, there's no holding him. Absolutely no holding him at all. I'm trying hard to see if I can just get us up on the screen. I've got Petula Clark at the moment, which is rather nice. I rather like Petula Clark, but it's not doing us much good in terms of no. Oh well, it'll come through eventually, I'm sure. I'm sure it will. Okie dokie. Now, yes, as I said, Philip will be along at about 10 to 9, and then Stuart will be along at about at 10:30. And anybody else that we pick up along the way will come in after that. But I rather think that the politics will be the end of this show in more ways than one. Okay, let's take a look at the papers. The papers. Assange's freedom flight and lackluster lions are the two key stories this morning. The Financial Times. Labour dragged into the betting scandal after a candidate backs himself to lose. Hey! Well, there's confidence in the party for you. But the main story is Julian Assange features on the front of most of Wednesday's newspapers after it was revealed he agreed a plea deal that should see him set free. Freedom flight is the Financial Times headline, next to the image of the WikiLeaks founder staring out of the window on a plane to a remote island in the Pacific. The lead story focuses on Labour being dragged into the general election betting scandal. After it emerged, the party has suspended Kevin Craig, a parliamentary candidate who has admitted betting that he would fail to win in his constituency. I don't know. I'd kick him out too. You can't have that sort of confidence behind you if you want to be winners. But Julian Assange, of course, the chap that holed up in one of the embassies, I've forgotten which one it is now, for God knows how long, and who essentially was accused by the United States of spying. And when they came to lock him up, he said, "I ain't going." And an international hunt was mounted for him, and he went and hid in, or took refuge in an embassy. But a colourful character, and one who evoked a lot of sympathy. It was seen as the guy who, like us, didn't mind opening his mouth, versus the establishment who decided to try and shut it. I just hope that we're not going to get somebody knocking on the door this morning saying, "Hey, come on, we're ready to take you in." We're outspoken enough, that's for sure. All right, the Daily Telegraph. A cabinet minister claimed he won £2,000 on an election bet. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. The same photograph of Assang features on the Daily Telegraph's front pages, but its lead story centres on remarks made by Scottish Secretary Alistair Jack, who reportedly claimed he won more than £2,000 betting on the election date. Comments he later described as a joke, along with a classification that he had won a much smaller amount on a bet. A quirky Matt cartoon at the foot of the page pokes fun at two police officers racing with full emergency siren on to place a bet after receiving a tip-off. And basically, what this story is all about is it's a bit like insider trading. Insider trading is if you buy shares on the stock market ahead of time because you've got some knowledge that they are going to actually hit the roof when they actually are launched. And that's naughty because it's taking advantage of confidential and private information. This betting scandal is they know the answer before they lay the bet, and so they're bound to win. In other words, it's cheating. And a whole bunch of Tories have admitted that they've cheated. Now it turns out that one or two Labour people have bet too, because presumably they would be aware ahead of time when the election was going to be called, July the 4th, Independence Day. So naughty people in all the ranks. But what do you expect? Yesterday, there was a story about the government are trying to stop this patronage of handing out honours, peerages and knighthoods and so on, just to pack the ranks. They want to get back to where, first of all, the public are really not very happy with the fact that somebody becomes a knight or a lord or whatever on the basis that they were pretty good to the party. They want to think that the upper chamber and people who support a title earned it, and that they are fairly decent people being recognised for their endeavour, and that this business of handing out, God's sake, is a hairdresser, a House of Commons hairdresser, who got a peerage because one Prime Minister absolutely took a fancy to her. I don't mean that in a nasty way. I just thought that she was very nice. And undoubtedly she was. But that is no reason to be given a peerage. No reason to become a lord or a dame or whatever. And there are hundreds of us who deserve that honour. Our Chief of Staff, Deck, I can just see it now. Rise, Sir Deck. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I want to be at that ceremony. But there is some move to try and clean up politics. But the trouble is that MPs have got so used to being corrupt and not actually realise or accept that they're being corrupt, that breaking that sort of thing is very difficult. MPs' expenses, do you remember a couple of years ago? A big hoo-ha, a big scandal, because they were claiming all sorts of things on expenses and it was being nodded through. So they tightened up the rules. And then quietly, a couple of months later, they untightened them again. And nothing was made out of it. So tightening up parliamentary rules over decent behaviour is going to be a very, very, very tough road to hoe. It really is. And both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition are poised to hand out a whole raft of honours just so that they can get stuff passed in the upper chamber. Not on. Is not on at all. The upper chamber is supposed to be a safeguard, not a lollipop. There we are. The Metro. Freed Assange is owing home. Don't quite understand that. Assange also features on the front of the Metro, which reports he headed towards London Stansted Airport, where he boarded a private charter plane understood to have cost £400,000. God almighty. Elsewhere, Conservative David Simmons, Labour's Wes Streeting, Lib Dems Daisy Cooper, and the Green Party Deputy Leader Zach Polanski, Reform's Alex Wilson, and former SNP Westminster leader Ian Blackford are all pictured following a hustings event hosted by the paper. Oh, well, we would expect that, wouldn't we? Yes. We put together an event and then we put it on the headlines, give it respectability on the front page. Oh, Metro. You know, I don't always agree with you, but you are London's paper and you reflect London's views normally. And here you are playing silly buggers. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. The Guardian. A fifth Tory faces investigation as election betting scandal grows. Oh, the Guardian's having a marvellous time. It is squeaky clean. So squeaky, it doesn't squeak. Assange's wife tells of joy at release under the US plea deal. That's not the headline. The headline is the election betting scandal. The Guardian reports on the joy expressed by Assange's wife, Stella, and says that she kept the news from their two young sons, just telling them she had a big surprise for them. The paper also touches on England's uninspiring 0-0 draw with Slovenia in their final Euro 2024 match, which the paper says saw the Three Lions do just enough. Well, the Chief of Staff tells me he started to watch and then he fell asleep. It was so boring. And he is an aficionado. Believe me, he knows his football. He woke up this morning to find out that it was 0-0. No wonder he let the booze in. The Daily Star. NASA boffins warn we're doomed if an asteroid heads to Earth, even if it's detected 14 years in advance. Armageddon, out of here. Oh, how clever. Armageddon, out of here. Here's Armageddon, out of here. Yeah. A sleepy England fan in Cologne is pictured on the top of the Daily Star front page after the below par performance against Slovenia. Well, that was dull, is the accompanying headline. The Daily Mail. Well, they've actually lackluster Lions, another bore draw, but at least England topped the group and avoid the Germans. Exclusive interview. Starmer. Male readers were right about Labour in 2019. That's why we've changed. But our political editor puts him through the ringer on taxing pensioners, votes at 16, and women's rights. Lackluster Lions is the huge headline on the front of the Daily Mail, as the paper carries a photo of a beleaguered-looking Harry Kane on the evening England got the job done to top Group C and avoid a clash with the Germans in Dortmund. Underneath the paper carries an exclusive interview with Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer, who faces questions from the Mail's political editor. Starmer insists the party has changed since the last election 5 years ago. Was that the Corbyn election? I would think it was. The time is 8:25. Oh, thank you. The chief has brought me the Times. We'll have a look at that in a minute. The Mirror. Oh, my old mate, poor old Eamon. I'm not okay. This is not a good time. I hope Ruth and I can be friends. Oh, yes, this split from his wife has told a tale. He's looking tired and disappointed. He's not a bad chap, Eamon, you know. He's quite laid back. And he even at Ulster Television, he wasn't afraid to call a spade a shovel. He's very critical of the news operation there. And so he should be too. It was so very typical of let's have so many Catholics and let's have so many Protestants. Did they understand what news is all about? Not really. And he said so. Right, okay, which paper are we in now? The Mirror. We'll end 8 a.m. GP scramble. Plans to tackle daily fight for appointments. And top medics warn Tory cuts have shattered the NHS. Well, that's always a left-wing thing, isn't it? That's a nonsense. We'll end 8 a.m. GP scramble is the dominant headline on the front of the Daily Mirror, as Sir Keir Starmer and Shadow Health Secretary Wes Streeting are pictured pledging another vow to fix the healthcare service. You know what their promises are? We're going to throw a lot of money at it. That is not the problem. The NHS is well funded. It's where they spend the money. That's the nonsense. Nobody will admit it. How do we fix the NHS? Oh, throw some more money at it. No. In fact, you could take some money away. What it needs is a streamlining of its administration. Oh, I'm not going to do that. Too many people making too much money. Too much money. But that's why they want to throw more money at it. Some of this stuff is so well known and accepted. They really are just out and out liars. That's what we've got, liars in our political ranks. We know very well that this won't fix it, but we're going to say it and we're going to do it anyway. The Times. Assange back with his family after a plea deal buys his freedom. Labour man suspended for betting on the election. There we go. The king welcomes Emperor Naruhito of Japan on the first day of his state visit to Britain. Well, now, isn't that remarkable? Because, here I am in the media. I had no idea that we had got a top Japanese official visiting. And it is a state visit if he's meeting Charles. And a very welcome one too, I think, because the Japanese are very industrious. And they've been, since the end of the Second World War, good friends to this country. We've got along very well with the Japanese, and there haven't been that much trouble. The domestic news, a smiling King Charles is pictured alongside Japan's Emperor Naruhito after the monarch welcomed him and his wife to a Buckingham Palace banquet on Tuesday, that was yesterday. The event, initially scheduled for 2020, but cancelled because of the pandemic, celebrated economic, diplomatic, and cultural ties on the first day of a 3-day state visit. One of the interesting things about the fight to get stock exchanges in various countries and attract companies to list on them is an interesting one as far as the Japanese are concerned. Because to persuade their senior executives to up stakes and come overseas to head up their operations here and elsewhere, you have to hold out little sweet drops. And for the Japanese, the key thing is culture. And they love the culture of London. And so Japanese firms have a tendency to come to the United Kingdom because they don't find the same cultural level on the continent. There you are. You see? There you are, indeed. You didn't know that, did you? Right, the Daily Express. Farage. The UK must end funding France until small boats are halted. Well, now, there you go. Another piece of common sense. It won't happen, of course. But Farage says Britain must stop payments to France if its navy continues to escort migrants across the Channel. The Daily Express gives the latest on Princess Anne's condition following her injury over the weekend, and it also urges England to do better at the Euros. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage is pictured on the front of the tabloid, insisting the UK must bring a halt to funding France until small boats are stopped from crossing the English Channel. That makes sense. You're not delivering, we won't pay you. The Guardian and the Financial Times carry the same photo of a pensive Julian Assange looking out of a plane window flying to Bangkok ahead of his eventual freedom. The Metro leads with Assange too and says the WikiLeaks founder faces repaying £400,000 to the Australian government for use of a private jet, which ended his 14-year stay in the UK. In other news, the Daily Telegraph focuses on the Scottish Secretary Alistair Jack's claim to the BBC he won money betting on the election, which he later said was a joke, denying he'd placed any such bets in May. The Times leads on the same development, saying there are now concerns the scandal could spiral further before the 4th of July. Meanwhile, Labour has been getting its election messaging out with a round of newspaper briefings, including one in the Daily Mirror, where the party pledges to scrap the early morning rush for GPs appointments. Sir Keir Starmer himself has given what the Daily Mail calls a frank interview to the paper, in which he admits readers were right to reject Labour 5 years ago. The current Labour leader says he's worked ruthlessly to change the party since Jeremy Corbyn's era. There is also no such relief yet for Gareth Southgate on the front pages, with England's performance and a 0-0 draw against Slovenia being described by the Daily Star as dull. And finally, in the Daily Express, Nigel Farage urges the UK to end payments to France if its navy continues to escort migrant boats across the English Channel. Woo! There we go. There we go. There's a lot of difference this morning. A lot of difference, indeed, in the stories that are important. One important piece of news, though, Chief, can I just find out, is the big deal still available?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, right. Burger, chips, and a drink, all for 15 quid. And I said to somebody quite independent from the chief, just in case he was pulling a little for me, is that a good deal? Too damn true, they said. So you've got a really good deal at the Black Horse. Burger, chips, and a drink during the Euros, and all for 15 quid. And the burgers are pretty damn good. The booze, I personally escort in. And the chips, well, you can't go far wrong with a chip, can you? So there you are. All at the Black Horse. And all courtesy of Mr. Deck. Right, we've got another 5 minutes or so before we sign out so that we can bring in artificial intelligence and Philip Meredith. So a group of dearth, it says. England finished top after a goalless draw. Fans throw plastic pint glasses towards Southgate. I wish they'd just leave Gareth alone. We all forgot when he came in, he was a breath of fresh air and really got us going. And now it hasn't gone quite according to plan, and perhaps, yes, he's getting a bit jaded after a very tough job. We would say, thank you, Gareth. You took us down a pretty good path before you got past your sell-by date. Football fans are very, very unforgiving. And to be quite honest with you, if they're going to be that unforgiving, is they get what they deserve. I have no sympathy. No sympathy whatsoever. There was a mixed reaction from the fans at the final whistle, with some clapping when Southgate went over to acknowledge them, while 2 plastic cups were thrown in his direction. I've not seen any other team qualify and receive similar, the England manager said. They kept composure in a game where they've come into it on the back of a really challenging environment. Well, okay. I'm doing it at my pace, Raducanu says, as she shuts out the noise. Well, she got through. I guess that was Eastbourne. So Wimbledon is up next. Rugby. The England side had a bonanza in Tokyo. They really did well. It was 52-17, as I recall, and they played brilliantly. But they go down and meet New Zealand. In fact, I think that they're in New Zealand now, and the matches come up this weekend, the first one anyway. Now, Deck keeps an eye on the cricket, and England will be eliminated from the T20 World Cup if their match against India in Guyana tomorrow is a washout, because there is no reserve day for the fixture, even though one has been set aside for the other semi-finals. The unfairness of sport. Absolutely, just totally unfair. Not very nice. What about the inside? Sherry Blair calls for fewer women to be sent to prison. That's okay. A couple of women murder somebody and never send them to prison. Why do we get our priorities absolutely wrong all the time? And the more famous people are, the wronger they get. If somebody has committed a crime that is prisonable under the law, that's what should happen. Tampering with it, and particularly, it doesn't do the feminists any favors whatsoever to be treated differently to anybody else. The Queen wore the King's new family order for the first time to welcome Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako. The Emperor inspected a guard of honor, and his wife wore protection for a horsehair allergy. Oh dear. How awful to ride in an open carriage and you're allergic to horses. Gosh, the Emperor is diminutive, though. He's a little guy. Anglophile Emperor is hailed with a Bond theme and a fish supper. Oh, he was at Oxford in 1980, the Japanese premier, and mastered the art of ordering a pint of beer in a pub and learned to love fish and chips and James Bond. Last night, he dined on Scottish langoustine, oh yeah, pretty good, and Cornish turbot, well, that must be okay, at a state banquet at Buckingham Palace. And it reiterated the friendship between the two nations. Right. Oh, here's the menu. Let's just take a look at the menu. Poached Scottish langoustine on a nest of cucumber with basil mousse, chilled tomato consommé. Baked fillet of Cornish turbot with herb butter wrapped in lettuce. sorrel cream sauce, and a selection of summer vegetables. Cream potato and spinach croquette. Salad of green beans and quail eggs. Ice cream bomb with peach sorbet and on a bed of compressed peaches. The wine list: Cote and Sealy Brut Reserve, Kumar River Hunting Hill Chardonnay, Chateau Angloude Margaux 214, and Laurent Perrier Cuvée Rosé. Oh, my wine pronunciation has just gone all to pot. But anyway, that was what they had last night. I had chicken casserole. Oh dear, how the mighty fallen. Dear. Actually, one of the secrets that I have is I know why they can go to a banquet without going to the loo. Because the royals don't go to the loo. Right? They don't burp, they don't fart, they don't do anything that is going to take away from the fairy tale image that's created. And I've got a little bit of inside information about how they do that, so I'm not going to tell you. Just find out for yourself. Right, okay. That's it for a bit of fun, but also a look at the serious stuff throughout the morning. I'm now going to say toodle pip so that we can free up the studio for Philip and John and to talk over AI. And it's always sort of fun, but by the same token, educational. So there we are. Let's let me just remind you that there is no quiz on the second Sunday of July because there is a big football hoop-to-do on that day. The quiz is the Sunday after, for this month only, for July only, the third Sunday in the month. That's when we're going to get that. So, just a reminder, but also a reminder that the Sunday lunch, which is a great lunch, is still on the cards every Sunday and well worthwhile coming and having a little nibble. And on top of that, burger, chips, and a drink, all for 15 quid during the Euros. Oh, what a pub. What a great pub. The only thing is, it doesn't open its doors until noon. When I worked at CNBC for a short period of time, which was just around from the Old Bailey and on the edge of Smithfield, is we were able to go and have drinks at 5 o'clock in the morning at some of the pubs there, which were geared to the workers in that market. Oh, he's gone. Otherwise, I was going to look over and see whether I could get him to open up at 5 in the morning. No hope. Toodles.